I've been asked to speak to the question, hasn't science disproved God? And I used to think that it had. When I was 18, I was going up to Cambridge University to read natural sciences. And at that stage, I was an atheist. And I viewed Christians as, I guess, kind of naive, gullible people who hadn't quite worked out that Father Christmas wasn't real and maybe still were expecting money from the tooth fairy. However, I'm now a Christian. And I put it to you, if you think that science does disprove God, why you think it is that so many leading scientists of both the past and the present are committed Christians. For example, people like Michael Faraday, who discovered electricity, or Isaac Newton, who discovered gravity, both of them devoted believers in God. Or in our own day, I discovered that the professor of geophysics in the University of Cambridge was a member of the local church in Cambridge. Or Francis Collins, the director of the Human Genome Project, responsible for sequencing the human DNA, a believer in Jesus. Obviously, these guys don't think that trusting in God and believing in science need to be at odds with one another. But of course, there is a conflict, and we see it in London on the side of buses with the atheist-sponsored "There's probably no God" slogans. Or we see it with Richard Dawkins' book, The God Delusion, or some of the skeptical interviews on the radio. I want to suggest that what's going on is not a conflict between science and Christianity, but rather the conflict between two different philosophies, two different views of the world. A conflict between the Christian worldview, the belief in a creator God, and the idea that matter and chance are all that there is, the worldview called naturalism. Now, Richard Dawkins and others like him subscribe to this naturalistic philosophy, and certainly it does conflict with Christianity. I want to ask, though, which one makes most sense of the facts? I've got three things to compare them. Firstly, the idea of design in the universe. Is it really true that everything that we see around us is just an accident? Sir Fred Hoyle, the astronomer, once said that the idea of random chance coming up with a universe like the one that we live in is a bit like saying that a whirlwind passed through a junkyard and built a 747. It just doesn't seem very accidental, the intricacies of the human body, the intricacies of the universe. Second comparison, what about human meaning and purpose? Is there any point to my life, or is it just random? Is there any point to right and wrong, or are they just different behaviours of atoms in the universe? I once said this to an atheist friend. I said, look, if what you say about the universe is correct, can you tell me why killing you would be any more wrong than cutting a grapefruit in half for breakfast? Grapefruit atoms, human atoms, much the same kind of thing. All I'd be doing in both cases would be just rearranging the atoms of the universe in a slightly different way. She thought about it for a moment. She said, well, my mother would be upset if you killed me. I said, well, what would be upset? Upset is just the increase of a particular chemical in the random collection of atoms that it's your mum's brain. Human purpose is made a mockery of by naturalism, whereas Christianity says there's a loving God who designed us for relationship and cares passionately about how we treat one another, and it matters. Design, purpose, and thirdly, what does it make of Jesus Christ? Scientists often say, naturalists often say that science is about facts and Christianity is about myths, just a blind leap in the dark. Actually, nothing could be further from the truth. The Christian writers of the New Testament were very concerned about recording the facts of Jesus' life, his miracles, his death, his resurrection. Now, some people hear about the resurrection of Jesus and they scoff and sneer and say that's scientifically impossible. But of course, that's not science at that point. That's just prejudice, just refusal to look into the possibility that there could be a God powerful enough to have made this universe and to reverse death. I'd urge you, if you want to be a responsible scientist, to look into the evidence of Jesus for yourself, to look carefully at what the eyewitnesses recorded, and to look carefully at their claim that Jesus rose from the dead. I did that some years ago now and became a Christian, the best decision I've ever made.